naughty children get the sack. So very heavy.
I never understood why adults kept their voices low whenever the year approached December. Why the old people in Maple Hollow avoided the topic of Christmas Eve as if it was something fragile, cursed, or better left untouched. As a child, I thought they were just tired of winter or bored of traditions, but the truth was far darker, and nobody in town dared to say it aloud. They didn't want to wake the memory. They didn't want to remember the night Santa took us. My name is Caleb Morris, and I was 11 years old when it happened. Today, I'm 36, but the snow of that winter still crunches in my ears, the cold still sits in my bones, and the image of that red suit, the one that wasn't filled by a human man, still visits me every Christmas Eve no matter where I run. The trouble began long before the first child vanished. It began the moment Maple Hollow decided to bring back the annual Christmas parade after 10 years of silence. They shouldn't have brought it back. They shouldn't have invited him. For most towns, a Christmas parade is harmless, kids waving, floats rolling, Santa handing candy to families. But for Maple Hollow, it wasn't a celebration. It was a reopening. A calling. A chance for something old and hungry to step back into our world. The grown-ups forgot that part. Kids like me never knew. And so when the first snow of December fell that year, and flyers went up inviting everyone to the return of the Maple Hollow Christmas Spectacular, the whole town felt a spark of excitement that should have been fear. The weeks leading up to the parade were ordinary enough. School was slow, the streets were peaceful, and Christmas lights flickered on every porch. But every night, I noticed something strange. Footprints in the snow that didn't match any boots from town. They were too long, too sharp, too narrow, like someone walking on blades. And they always pointed toward children's windows. Mine included. I told my parents, but they brushed it off. Probably a fox, my dad said. Probably your imagination, my mom added. But I knew what fox tracks looked like. These weren't those. On December 22nd, I heard the bells for the first time, soft, distant, but steady, moving through the empty street outside my window. I rushed to the glass expecting to see a sleigh, or maybe a late-night truck. But instead, I saw a shadow. Tall. Thin. Draped in red. It moved differently than a person, like the joints bent the wrong way, like elbows and knees didn't fully connect. And as it passed, all our Christmas lights flickered, dimming for a second before coming back stronger. The shadow didn't look up at me, not that night. But it paused under my window long enough to leave behind a small trail of black snow, snow that looked burned, as if the cold itself had caught fire. December 24th arrived like a promise nobody asked for. That morning, Maple Hollow felt too quiet, as if the air itself held its breath. The parade was scheduled for 7 p.m., and by the time the sun began to set, the whole town gathered downtown under the flickering street lamps. Children laughed, adults sipped hot cocoa, and the marching band warmed their instruments. Everything looked normal until the temperature dropped, sudden and violently. Our breaths came out in thick clouds. Ice formed on railings and hats. People shivered and turned toward the road, waiting for the first float. And that's when we heard the bells again. Not jingle bells. Something heavier. Slower. Bells that sounded like they were underwater. The first float turned the corner. A massive sleigh carved from old wood, darker than anything I'd ever seen. It wasn't decorated. It wasn't festive. It looked ancient, like it had been dragged out of a forest that sunlight had forgotten. And riding on top of it was Santa. Or at least what Maple Hollow wanted us to believe was Santa. But even as a child, even before anything bad happened, I knew instantly that something was wrong with him. His suit was red, but not cloth red, more like the red of bruised meat, like the red of something alive. His beard was too long, hanging in tangled ropes almost to his waist, and it didn't sway naturally, it moved like it was breathing. His boots were pointed, impossibly narrow, matching the strange tracks I'd seen all month. And his face. I still struggle to describe it. At a glance, it looked like a smiling mask, bright, wide, painted with joy. But the longer you stared, the more wrong it seemed. The smile didn't reach the eyes. The eyes didn't blink. And the skin didn't wrinkle. It was like a doll's face stretched over something too large for it. Yet every child clapped. Every adult cheered. Because nobody else saw what I saw, not until it was too late. As the sleigh rolled past, the Santa figure raised one hand and waved. The crowd erupted in applause. But the moment he looked at me, something cold and sharp pressed into my spine. His head didn't turn like a human head, it twisted, slowly, in a full unnatural arc until his gaze locked onto mine. The smile widened. And the bells chimed louder. After the parade, families returned home to warm fireplaces, Christmas movies, and presents waiting for the morning. I tried to forget what I'd seen. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination running wild. But around midnight, the bells returned, this time right outside my house. I sat up in bed, frozen, listening as footsteps approached the front door. They weren't heavy like boots. They were scraping, like metal dragging across wood. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps. My parents were asleep. The house was silent. And even though I was terrified, curiosity pulled me to my window. When I peeked through the curtain, my heart nearly stopped. There he was, the same Santa from the parade, standing perfectly still on our porch. The red suit looked darker now, wet, as if the snow melted on contact. The beard twitched like something was moving underneath it, and his head tilted sharply when he sensed me watching, the smile somehow wider than before. He reached into his sack, a sack that bulged and writhed like something alive was inside, and pulled out a small wooden toy soldier. He placed it carefully on our welcome mat and stepped back, waiting, as if expecting a child to come and pick it up. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Eventually, the figure turned and walked away, leaving deep, unnatural prints in the snow. The toy soldier remained. I should have woken my parents. I should have screamed. But I didn't. I went back to bed, heart racing. I kept telling myself morning would make everything normal again. But morning brought something else. Children didn't wake up. One by one, houses across Maple Hollow reported the same horror, kids gone. Beds empty. Windows cracked open, just enough for something small or something thin to slip through. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just silence. Lots and lots of silence. My best friend, Daniel, was gone. His little sister too. On my street alone, 7 kids vanished before sunrise. And on every doorstep, the same wooden toy soldier was found, its painted face cracked into the same smile as the Santa mask. Police swarmed the town. Parents screamed at officers, sobbing in the snow. Dogs were brought in to track scents, but they refused to move past the town's edge. They growled at the tree line, tails tucked, staring into the forest like something inside it stared back. Reporters came. Helicopters hovered overhead. But the children were gone, completely gone. Except me. Nobody could explain why I was spared. Some said luck. Some said miracle. But I knew the truth. I wasn't spared. I was chosen. That Santa thing had looked straight at me. It had left me alive, for now. That night, Maple Hollow went into lockdown. Patrol cars lined the streets. Floodlights illuminated yards. Parents sat awake clutching baseball bats and kitchen knives. And as midnight approached again, the cold returned. Not normal winter cold, this cold felt alive. It crept under doors, crawled across floors, seeped into skin. And with it came the bells. I heard them long before anyone else did. Deep, echoing chimes floating through the air like a warning. I ran to my parents' room, shaking them awake, begging them not to open the door no matter what. My father brushed me off, insisting the police were outside, insisting nothing would happen twice. But as the bells grew louder, even he began to tremble. Something about that sound stripped away courage. Then we heard the knock. 3 soft taps. My mother screamed. My father grabbed a chair and jammed it under the doorknob. But the knocks didn't stop. They grew faster. Harder. More impatient. And then, without warning, every light in the house flickered violently before going out completely. The darkness was suffocating. And in that darkness, a voice spoke, not from the door, but from behind the walls, from under the floorboards, from the air itself. Caleb, come out, it's Christmas. My parents froze. I felt their hands tighten around me. The voice wasn't human. It stretched the words wrong, like it was trying to imitate speech. Like it had listened to humans for too long, but never truly understood us. The front door creaked open. I don't know how. I don't want to know how. But it opened. Snow blew inside. And then footsteps, those scraping metal footsteps, echoed through the hall. My father grabbed me, pulling me toward the closet, but the footsteps stopped right outside the bedroom. The doorknob slowly turned left, then right. Something sniffed from the other side, a long, wet inhale that made my stomach twist. And then the door opened. What stepped inside wasn't Santa. It wasn't anything close. The suit hung loosely on a body far too long, far too thin. The beard writhed like worms. The mask had cracked down the middle, revealing something pulsing underneath. And the smile, oh God, the smile, it wasn't a painted smile anymore. Something inside the suit smiled with its entire face, stretching the skin as if joy itself hurt. It reached toward me. I closed my eyes. I waited for it to take me. But something stopped it. A sound from outside. A shriek, high, metallic, furious. The creature flinched, retreating toward the door as if something stronger had called it back. It turned its head unnaturally, staring at me with empty eyes full of hunger and promise, then vanished into the hallway as quickly as it came. The front door slammed shut. The cold disappeared. The bells faded. The children were never found. Not in the woods. Not in the lake. Not in the abandoned mines. Not anywhere humans could reach. Maple Hollow still celebrates Christmas, but not with joy. Not with lights. Not with parades. Parents lock their doors early. Children are kept inside. And nobody, absolutely nobody, allows red suits in town anymore. As for me, every year, on December 24th, when the night turns cold and the world goes quiet, I hear it again. The bells, slow. Heavy. Getting closer. And every year, a small wooden toy soldier appears on my doorstep. Still smiling. Still waiting. Because Santa didn't take me that night. He just wasn't finished with me yet.